All right, so here is a look at the copyright assignment using the Assure model. So I have a slide for each letter. So analyze the learners. We were told that this is going to be supplementing a classroom lesson, but we weren't told a grade. So I decided to start with fourth grade because that's when you really start seeing these things show up in the TEKS. So students will be supported in the library. And I was planning on about a 2-day lesson when I was looking at it. That way we could introduce the information and then have a chance to go back and check, because as a fourth grader, there's going to be a lot of stuff that they didn't know or are being introduced to the first time. So I think breaking it apart into a 2-day lesson would be really great. We were told that they were computer literate, they were a technology driven generation, and I'm going to pretend that there are no physical limitations. I have taught classrooms where students were unable to type or unable to see a computer screen because of physical limitations. I'm going to pretend like that doesn't exist, and I'm giving the same lesson plan for everybody because it can get kind of confusing. So that is a little look at our learners. So state standards and objectives. The state of Texas actually included technology into their TEKS, and the fifth TEK under technology is all about dual citizenship. But since we are not looking at dual citizenship, we're just going to look at the copyright part of it, which would be B, C, F, and G. So B, respect intellectual property. So in my lesson and in the quiz and in the individual practice, we're going to be looking a lot at the idea of stealing. Just because it's online does not mean we have free access to it. We need to respect that it was created by somebody else. And that's a really strong theme during this entire lesson. We're also going to abide by copyright laws and fair use guidelines just by introducing those terms. So in this lesson, we're going all the way back to fourth grade. This is the first time a lot of them are going to hear those specific terms. So the quiz is really going to hit on those terms. The individual exercise will have a couple activities, a couple questions dealing with those terms. Right now, we're just worried about respecting the people who created it and just introducing the students to those terms. And then, of course, practicing safety and legal responsibility, and then just complying again with those fair use guidelines. So again, just introducing those terms and being very respectful. That's pretty much what we are covering here. And then strategies and resources. So strategies we're going to be using is we're going to be using 3. Note taking. It's a part of the rubric to be able to take these notes, write down definitions in their own terms, and be able to use them later. There's also going to be a knowledge check starting day number 2 and an independent exercise so they can practice on their own. So it's kind of following a very rough I do, we do, you do. Just kind of following that. And then for resources, I'm going to use Google Forms for my quiz. We're going to use the Library Media Center, and I have desktops in my Library Media Center. So those are the resources we are going to use. All right, utilize resources. Again, students at this grade level will have free access to the internet browser. They'll be accessing that through the Media Center in the library using desktops. All right, then require learner participation. So day 1 is going to be a lot of teacher. So it's going to be teacher-led lesson. The students will be actively taking notes though, and I do pause to make sure students are taking notes and drop little hints twice in my lesson, just reminding them to be writing stuff down. And then we're going to start an independent exercise. So this lesson did not require me this lesson. This module did not require me to actually make the exercise, but what I'm envisioning is kind of just walking the students through the steps of research to where they're going to have to ask, can I use it? Should I use it? Who do I credit for it? And then day number 2, we're going to start off with a knowledge check. We're going to make sure that we remember the terms, or at least can use our notes to look back. And that's where the Google form quiz is going to come in. And then they're just going to finish that independent exercise. So evaluate and revise. That is where our rubric is going to come in. And my rubric is right here. So I have a notes category. I have the independent research, and then I have our quiz. I also have using the internet and the mechanics. So that's going to play into the individual exercise. So those are the areas I'm going to look at on my rubric. And that is how this lesson follows the Assure model. Thank you guys.